offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of my beloved Lord who resides in my heart, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Swami, may your presence fill us in these next 2 days. May your love that shines always be recognized and be implanted in our hearts. Sai Ram. Sai Ram, thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Sai Ram, all of you. Such a pleasure to meet all of you. Some of you I know already. And of course, as Swami has said, and it's been said here, that we've probably met in previous lifetimes as well. What Swami has said here is so powerful. One thing that, and even adding to that what Swami has said, to even know Swami's name in this lifetime has required numerous births of good deeds, good merits, and spiritual sadhana. To have seen him and heard his voice has required the good deeds of our ancestors. But to actually recognize him as the divine and know him as the divine in our hearts can only come by his grace. Only his grace. So the fact that we're here today makes it that much more powerful, doesn't it? And as we said, that much more of a responsibility. You know, we live in a time where we have so much going on in this world. We have our youth who are growing up in it seems very difficult world. We have all the ups and downs. We have, these devices here that are a great distraction. It was interesting, preparing for coming here and speaking to you. I actually spoke to my son. He's 24 years old. And I asked him, what do you think is one of the greatest distractions and things that is causing anxiety, causing not connection and friendship, but actually separation? And he said it's this. Because this amplifies all the negativity. But the beautiful thing is that we have each other. We have this SSE program. We have the gatherings that we come to as our true cell phone directly to Swami. And it's the communication, the satsang, and the time we have together, and most importantly, being with the children, where you can actually hear Swami come through so beautifully. I have been to numerous retreats and had the grace and the opportunity to be with the young ones. And it is they who we learn from. And this is something so important for us, that this great opportunity that we have, we've had all these births, we have all these things, and it's so easy. I know myself, when before I came to Swami, I had such a huge spiritual ego. I thought, that I know these things, that I have great insights, that I can fathom these various teachings and so on, that there must be something great about me. But Swami taught me over the 5 years, continuously teaches me that we are nothing. We are nothing. It is only by Swami's grace that we become his instruments. What we really are, of course, is him. But we have to walk the path of humility. So this great grace of being able to be with the young ones, we have to be careful about thinking that we are the guru and they are the sisha, the students. It is very true that we are there to help guide them, but what are we guiding them to? That's the question. I know myself growing up here in the West that I had beautiful parents. My mother grew up in a Catholic family they were both from Hungary, very strong Catholic family. And my father, the opposite, he grew up in an atheist family, a communist family. And so I grew up where God was sort of talked about, but not really. But my mother, my dear mother, taught me integrity, taught me to speak the truth, and keep that. And my father later on, he became a follower of J. Krishnamurti. He was into jnana and that path. And he taught me self-inquiry. But the most important thing that happened in my life, and for all of us, is what? It is something we're actually, as we grow up in this world, we start out as pure, unsullied children, right? The Swami says when children are young, their vasanas, their past karmas, haven't yet bloomed. So we see children who are pure, they're unsullied, and as they get older, that starts to come out. And here in the West, what we do is we teach them how to think and think and think. That the main thing that we have to do, the main tool, is to be thinking. And so I grew up with all of that. And Swami gave me the perfect tools. My mother and my father. My father taught me to think a lot. And I remember I got into an interview, and Swami turned to my mother and says, "There's too much father in this boy. Not enough mother," which was the heart. And that's what Swami did. And it was like a coconut, and that is to knock that thinking is the most important thing. Thinking is not the most important thing. It is learning to connect to Sai, who is always within us in our heart. And we need to recognize that in the children and help them to keep that innocence. And you know, we're actually today, and actually tomorrow, we are celebrating here actually Easter. And I thought it would be appropriate to say something about that, because Jesus does talk about our children and how important it is. And it totally has to do with what we're doing here. So Jesus says in the Bible, and it says, "And he called a child to himself and set him before them and said, 'Truly I say to you, unless you are converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever then humbles himself as this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.'" How powerful that statement is. We must become humble and be like children. And I noticed myself that if I am like a child, if we become like a child in the sense that we have our innocence, then we have a connection with the children that we are with and that we are teaching. Because as my son was telling me, "Leslie, don't go up there and tell them that they need to take a cell phone away from the kids, or they shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that." Because as you know with young kids, if you tell them don't, what do? They do. So I asked my son, I should tell you a little bit about my son, because this is something that actually comes about with all of us as Sai devotees. And this is a very beautiful story, appropriate. So I'm living in the ashram for 5 years, and during that time I had an interview. I am now maybe 23 years old. I'm totally a gopika. I went from being this doubter who thought Sai Baba is maybe the Antichrist. who's stealing people away and faking all kinds of materializations and everything, to absolutely knowing that he is the divine, the ultimate divine. Not even this thing we call guru, but he is the ultimate. And that the body we see is simply his creation to interface with us, to have a connection with him. The form of God is needed by us because that's how we are as humans. We need to be able to have that doorway. And that's what the form is. It's not something to be thrown out and discarded. If that happens, it happens naturally if the form dissolves. But for me, I needed it. So I'm having an interview absolutely dedicated to being with Swami. And Swami says to me that Swami will give you children. I will give you a son and a daughter. And here I am, I'm 23 years old. All I want to do is live with Swami, serve him. I want nothing to do with that. And I said, no, Swami, I don't want son and daughter. No, Swami will give. I'm arguing with him. And so he said, and then I thought something clever, that Swami sometimes means son and daughter means wisdom and peace when he's giving discourse. So that pops into my head. So I said, Swami, wisdom and peace? And he goes, no, physical. Physical. Oh, so now I get into the next mode. I start to haggle with Swami. No, Swami, please, I don't want. And so he says, okay, I will give you a son. He will be a great devotee of God. Good, very good, very good. He will love God a lot, and God will love him. Okay. What can I say? I can't argue anymore. So this, of course, was postponed for the years that I was there, and I came back, and Swami found me a wife that I married, and then shortly, about a year and a half or so after, came the son. And Swami named him Sarathi, charioteer, right? So we're raising him. I don't like calling myself a Sai devotee. Only Swami can call you a Sai devotee, but I follow Swami, and he's in my heart. And we go to SSE, we go to devotional, we do it at home, the years go by and so on, and he's doing all of that. And I remember driving home from here in Thousand Oaks. We had just, it was getting sort of harder and harder to take him. He would kind of complain and so on, and he's like 13 years old. And he's quiet in the back of the car. I'm with Brother Eric, who is our Region 8 president, and his son in the back seat, and my son is totally quiet. And we get home, and he goes straight to his room. And I go in there, I know I need to talk to him because something's really wrong. So he's sitting on the bed, and I sit down next to him, and I said, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "I can't tell you, Dad." I said, "Why? Why can't you tell me?" And he says, "Because if I tell you, you won't love me anymore." Oh, that hit my heart. And I turned to him and I said, "There's nothing you can say that will ever change my love for you. You can say anything." And so, with some kind of sobbing and almost crying, he says, "Dad, I don't believe in God." And my reaction wasn't that, uh-oh, or hey. But as Swami taught us, Swami never judged me. We all have our own paths to God. It's not my business. It's not your business. Your business is to be there, be present, follow Swami's teachings, be an example. And what comes across and what transforms is Swami's responsibility. So I say to him, there is nothing you can say or do that will ever change that. ever change my love for you. And he gets relaxed like this. And then he turns to me with his loving heart, as children are. He says, but Dad, I know you went to India. I heard all your stories. And I know they're true for you because you experienced them. But I haven't yet. I need to find out for myself. And I say, good. That is what Swami wants. And what Swami asks for us is to give the tools for our children to find for themselves, not to indoctrinate. We don't know their past karmas. Some children will know immediately. Oh yes, that's the Lord. Others may not. Others may be quiet. Like my son, I had no idea until this years into this. But it's absolutely fine. So I then say to my son, that's perfect. I said, you need to find out for yourself, and you have your own journey. I had my own journey. You had your own journeys. But I asked him one thing. Can you promise me one thing? And he says, what is it, Dad? I said, can you promise me that you will just be a good person? And he says, I can do that.
Amen.
And that is what Swami asks us. See good, be good, do good. And he, up to this day, even when I spoke to him about coming here, he respects everything that I do. He knows it's all true for me. He asked me about how does it go, how did it go? But he doesn't believe, and that's absolutely fine. But he's a registered nurse. He loves to help people. He does service and seva. And I tell my son, and this is something to remember, because what I want to talk about today is living an integrated life. It's very easy on the spiritual path. I went through it, that the goal is to get some huge visions and to have, all these high spiritual experiences. And they come, and Swami will give, they're like carrots to give us love and hope and faith. Because it's very hard, we're in these bodies. We see things, and everything that we see seems to be all that's real. But Swami will give you experiences, and you'll have them because of past births, past good karmas. But that's not what's important. Swami teaches us we're in this body for one purpose. And that one purpose is to realize who you are. But how do you realize who you are? It is by doing the simple statements that Swami says. Love all, serve all. See good, be good, do good. And it's not about being complicated. It's so easy for us to teach too much to the children. Swami says, you don't need to learn all of the sayings that I have, just take one. Just take one and practice that. And for each one of us, it may be different. Some of us respond to meditation, doing those kinds of things. Some of us respond better to devotion. We're all different, and children are different. So for my son, he's open and ready to serve and grow in his life. So how do we balance this? How do we get all this together? How do we live an integrated life? When I was going to leave, it was time for me to leave. It was like one thing that happens with Swami in your life. There is not one thing happening right now that isn't orchestrated by him. Never forget that. It's so easy to think we are the doer. It's so easy to think all those things. And that's our pride, that's our thing, right? And it's easy to, as Swami says, that when things go well, we attribute it to ourselves, right? Oh, I did a good thing. But when things go wrong, Swami, why do you do this to me? Right? all of this is happening, and it's unfathomable why it's happening. It brings up the question, how can there be such horrible things happening in the world? How can all these things that are happening? And Swami says it's for us to have faith in knowing that all of this has a purpose that he knows. And it's for us, it's not a playground, but it's a game. Life is a game, and play it. We're here to express Swami's message through our lives. And on that point, here's a good thing as a teacher, or as anybody. There once was a sage, or a mother, and she had a child who would always like to eat chocolate. You may have heard this story. And the mother didn't know what to do because he would go off and eat chocolates all the time. He was like addicted to eating chocolates. And of course, that's not good to eat too much, your teeth, your health, and so on. She didn't know what to do. So there's a great saint who was living in nearby, and she took her son to him. And she had the opportunity to be able to bring the child and bring him to the saint. And she said, and the saint said, what's the problem? What can I help? And she says, Babaji, please help, because my son, he can't stop eating chocolate. I tell him to stop, but he doesn't stop. What do I do? And what does this saint say? He says, come back in a few weeks, and I'll tell you. And she thought, what? Why? So she says, you take what the Guru says, and so she left, and after some time, she came back to see the master. And so now the master instructed how to slowly take the child away from eating and how to do this and so on. And she was curious, why this time difference? Why a few weeks later? So she says, Master, why do you tell me this now? Why not a few weeks ago? And he says, Madam, I love chocolate too. And I was also addicted to it too. And I had to stop eating it myself. That's why. Do you understand the teaching here? That's, it's easy for us to become a teacher and try to teach people, but if we don't put it into practice, then what does it mean, right? And that's a hard one. It doesn't mean we have to be perfect. None of us are perfect, but we have to put in the effort. And children, especially children, can see if we're genuine or not. Do I have hands to say, is that true? Yes. They all see that. They can see right through us. And that comes back to this integration. So on my last interview, Swami had already told me it's time for you to go back. And so Swami, in my first interview, had told me in the private interview room, I had given him the letter. Here's something for all of you, so important in your own lives, to ask yourself one question, a question that he asks every single person who he talks to in an interview, and he asks you every day, every moment in your heart. What do you think that question is? Can somebody?
What do you want? What do you want?
What do you want? That's a good one too, Ari. But in the interview, he'll ask you, what do you want? Are you ready to answer that question in your heart? And be truthful about it? The Swami will want to have the truth about this. And Swami will, whatever the truth is there, he will satisfy it. If that truth is, I really want a good job, Swami will give it. If you want to have a wife, and there's nothing wrong with these things, he will give it. And he will give, and he will give, and he will give. until finally you give an answer, and what would this answer be? What is the final answer to this question that Swami's waiting for? What is the final answer? Exactly. In that first interview that I ended up in, I experienced Swami walk in. I didn't experience a 5'3" man come into that interview. I experienced the end of the road. My search is over. He sat down and he began asking this question to the people. What do you want? He asked one gentleman who was sitting with his son, "Sir, what do you want?" And he says, "Swami, could you please find a wife for my son?" And Swami says, "Yes, I will see you separate." And then Swami was behaving like, "Is that what you're really asking? Somebody else, can you ask something that you can feel this?" I'm sitting way in the back of the room, smashed up against the wall, because there were so many people in there, and my face was hurting because I was overjoyed, because there's nothing more to search for. The answer for everything in my life, I've read so many books, so many teachings, but I finally have a relationship. This is so important, so important. The teachings and the readings and all of this is important, but what's more important is the one-to-one relationship with Him. That's the main thing that Swami was trying to get into me over thousands of births. And that's what we are to do when we're with the children. Help them to make that connection with the Swami inside. And as Swami does with each one of us, it's on an individual level. Swami doesn't teach us as a huge group. Even here in his discourses, he'll say, "This, it sounds like everyone must repeat the name." And then 15 minutes later, "No, the way to God is through meditation." And then 20 minutes later, Swami says, "Only love. Which one is it? It's all of them. Swami's speaking to all of us, and everyone will hear what they need to hear. Same also for the children. We need to make sure that what's communicated to them to support what each one needs. It's not just one group. Each child has a different response. So back I'm here against the wall. Swami then asks another young person. He's a young person from England. "Hey boy, what do you want?" And he says, "Swami, I want to know more about God." An amazing thing is happening here, because as he's asking the question of the same thing that was happening to me in my life. The first thing, I got married at a very young age. I wanted a wife. And Swami gave it to me. That wasn't enough. Then I started, I need to know more about God, right? So he's asking someone here in this interview, and he answers, "I want to know more about God." And Swami then said, "There's 5 different knowledges of God," and Swami's saying all this stuff, but it doesn't mean anything to me. Because the presence, the experience of being in the presence of the Lord is what I've been wanting. And I've been noticing that even though I see it outside, where are we experiencing? Where do we have all of our experiences? It's in here. There's nothing outside. So, and as Swami says, what we see outside is nothing but a reflection of our inner being. And when our inner being is pure, we see good outside. And we see God outside. So after he tells him about this, the 5 knowledges of God, he's like, that's not enough either. He's looking, come on, somebody ask what I'm really looking for. So he looks way in the back and says, "Hey boy, what do you want?" And my mind was a million miles away. It wasn't there. What was present was my heart, and what came from my mouth just 10 minutes before, outside, I would never have said, because I had no idea who he is, what he is, or what I was experiencing, and I knew now, by his grace, came out of my mouth, and I said, all I want is you, Swami. And he goes, good boy, come here. And I walk through the people like this, and they're coming, and Swami goes like this, big like this, and in the air, something silver appears, and he grabs it, and he shows it to me, and it's a Shirdi Baba. And he wants to put it on my finger. And what am I doing? I'm going like this. I don't want it. And I see on your faces, what? This is created by Swami. But what Swami was taking me through was an understanding that that ring represented all the physical things that I'd gotten in my life. And did they make me happy? Temporarily? It's not the creation I wanted. What did I want? The Creator. And then Swami, of course, like always he is, in daily life he is with us. No, I made this for you. And I said, but I don't want it. All I want is you. And so he goes, boom. He sticks it in my pocket. He grabs me, takes me, he sits down and puts me down in front of him, and he says, how do you get to God? How am I supposed to answer to Swami? How do I get to God? You know, a list of all the philosophies and stuff like that, it'd be meaningless in front of him. And so you're expecting Swami will go into a 5-minute, discussion with me. How do you get to God? No. Swami is simple. Follow the 3 P's. Patience, perseverance. What's the third one? Purity. Remember these 3. It's the only teaching that I really needed from Swami. And even just putting one of these into practice, oh my gosh, patience. Oh, in another interview, Swami would turn to my mother, this boy has no patience. Because we want it right away. We want everything, especially these days, right away. But the worst of it is we want the spiritual things right away. Why do I still have this desire? Why do I still get angry at these people? Why? Swami says, start early, drive slowly, reach safely. So, coming back to the last day in the ashram, or last few days, Swami, I probably have to put this into it, but in that interview, I had given Swami about 6 months or a year earlier a letter. It was a letter, I'd written letters to Swami and would never take them. And because they were written not from my heart, they were written from my head. But in this letter, I finally wrote down what I really wanted. I said, Swami, all I want is to live a divine, magical, mystical life. That's all I want. And so, in this first interview, when he took me in the private interview room, not only did he tell me why I was having all the difficulties in my life, my time I can't, but he even recreated or reenacted a situation where a young person had taught me how to do shoplifting, and Swami was explaining the whole thing that happened. Yes, he was teaching you that if you drop the candy on the floor, you can go down and put it in your sock. And I remember, as he's saying this, I couldn't do it because my conscience. And here again, how beautifully he's teaching. Why does he know this? It's not because there's a God up in heaven who's like watching everyone like this. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, he's doing this. My conscience is king. Swami is only as far away from us as we put him in our head. He's living inside of each one of us. And then he tells me why I'm having difficulty in my life, ups and downs. And as he then says, time to go, I I'm walking to the door, and behind me he's there, and I hear this booming voice. Not the 5'3" but he says to me, I will give you liberation. I will give you a divine life, a divine, magical life. And as I'm turning around and he's saying this, I'm ready to just melt. Because Swami had just answered everything that was needed. How do you get to God? He gave me the path to Him. 3 P's. He answered what was from my heart. And that's extremely important for all of you to remember. If you ask of Him anything from your heart, He will give, but in His time and in His way. Never doubt it. You know, people have said, Swami, it's so easy to follow you. And Swami says, no, it's very difficult to follow Sai Baba. And he said, why? Because people don't have the patience to wait. It's so easy for us to run off and go to another guru, another teacher, another thing. There is not one thing Swami has not said, that is not written, that you need anything else from. He's the master of masters. He's the one who has taught all the other masters. So, on my last interview, Swami says, it's time for you to go back. And I said, but Swami, all I want is liberation. And it's really not coming from my heart anymore, because I knew it's time for me to go back. Because what is really liberation? This is a question that is pondered upon. What does it mean? We complicate it. And Swami had asked a young man, what do you want? And he said, Swami, I want liberation. And Swami says, what is liberation? And he goes into, it's when we become one with God, and this and this and that. Swami goes, yes. Liberation, Swami says, is when everything is agreeable. Liberation is when everything is agreeable. It sounds very simple, but think about it. When everything is agreeable. What does Swami teach us? He says that we have to see everything that happens is His will, and that everything that happens is for our own good. That's when everything is agreeable. So I said, and then Swami says, and then I said to Swami, well, what do I do? You know, we're so concerned in our life that I need to know what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, what is my calling, or what is my thing? And what does Swami say? Do anything. And it sounds funny, it's like he doesn't care, right? Do anything. And this is a big teaching. Before Swami taught me to have this self-confidence that he can speak, that he's the doer, I would never be up here. I was the shy kid who would never get up and speak. And because of that, Swami says, after 3.5 years, you stop canteen, you go now and you speak. And I said, Swami, no, you go speak. And Swami taught me how to speak. As I said, I'm an engineer. I don't have a degree. It is Swami who taught me, and Swami's grace that I'm able to do it. He's the doer. He's the one who does it. And thank Swami for all of it. So he says, go back, do anything. And then I said, I'm thinking, Swami, I'm your boy. I'm like a student. You need to let me know. So he says, go back, see Father, then join company. And he's talking, but I can't hear him. And sure enough, all of what he said happened when I came back. But most importantly, the next question I asked him, Swami, if I go back and they ask me to speak, should I speak? And he says, yes, you speak. But what experience do you have? I go, Swami, I've lived here 5 years, interviews and stuff, and they were thinking, this is all great, right? And Swami says, yes, but is that enough? This is very, very important teachings that Swami's giving us, is humility. Is the humility that the teaching, the growth, always keeps moving on. Life is expansion. Expansion is my life, Swami says. And it should be ours too. Never ever think that, I know, because then Swami will come and pull the rug from out of under you. So, coming back here, of course, I came back, and how do I integrate all of this back into this life? It wasn't easy, because living in India and being a devotee of that type, but Swami threw me right back in. But Swami showed me that he's always with me, never away from me. He's always with us. And so the main thing about this is that I started that spirituality was something that we do on a Sunday. That's something that we do privately. And then afterwards, when we leave here, what happens? Our mind goes all over the place. We go and watch these shows. We go and do this and that. And then we come back next, however, oh man, I really need a cleansing after that, right? But this is a scattered life. And Swami's been teaching me over time, grace and slowly, that all of this is him. And that the purpose of going to work, yes, it's to make money and so on, and do those things. But the purpose of life is to spread his love. And to spread his love, not necessarily through our words. We're not proselytizing, that's not what Swami's teaching us. But we are all beacons of light. And just back again, our children that we are with at SSE, they are beacons of light. And our job is to give them the tools, to give them the confidence that everything will be good. And this is something that I asked my son before I came, that what's important for you in a teacher? And he gave me an example. He said, I went out on a sailboat trip out to the island. And the person on there, he used to be a Navy diver, scuba diver. And he was like super diver kind of person. And so they went out there, and my son never dove into water deep or anything like this. And so he tells him to put on the scuba gear, he shows him how to use it, how to breathe and everything. And the man had so much confidence because he was doing that for years. And so my son trusted him. And so he went in the water, and then he said to him, now go down and dive to the bottom of the water, and go down to the rocks. And even though my son was scared, a bit scared, he knew that he would never be really in danger because this person is protecting him, that he was the expert. So not only did he go all the way into the water, but he did dive all the way down, and when he came back up, this scuba diving master was so happy. He was like, wow, I'm so proud of you. And he said, that is a true teacher, a teacher who pushes you to go beyond what you think you can't do, but you feel the confidence that they have your back, that they know that everything is safe, and that they have confidence that you can develop that self-confidence in you. That is a teacher. And as teachers, Swami allowed me to do SSE, the number one thing is, as you can probably feel from me, the only way I can get up here and speak is if it's about love. Love is the most important thing that we all need, especially our children. They all need love. We don't know how they grow up. Some of us may have grown up in loving families, and many of us don't. And many of us don't even know what that feeling of love is. And so we need patience, and we need to show them what a loving environment is, and how important this Sai community is. The Sai community gives us a sense of community. Especially here in the West, community doesn't really mean that much. But we have each other. If something happens, I know we had our house burned down some years ago. It was like the whole Sai community mobilized. What do you need? They send clothes, they send all these things. And then if you're in trouble, we go through ups and downs. We have each other to talk to. And that's very important to instill in our children too, that it's okay to things don't go well. And it's good to teach our children that for ourselves too. I let my son know I'm not perfect at all. You see me go through ups and downs. Sometimes as parents we think we have to show that we're perfect. And that's not the right way. We also have our bumps and jumps. But we need to show them that who is the one who carries them? It is Sai. Sai is the one who carries us. Have I gone past my time?
You have 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes?
Yes.
I'll leave some time for questions.
Sure.
Okay. So, the last thing I really wanted to carry is that to remember, I actually found this, a discussion about this, that we need to remember this, that adults live in the past and future, right? We're always thinking of the past and future, most of us. But children, where do they live? They live in the now. Isn't that amazing? That they see everything fresh. To them, the world is fresh and new. They don't have preconceived notions of how things ought to look, or should or shouldn't be. That's not even in the vocabulary. And they don't get attached like what we do. Is that something for us to learn? Yeah. And the children live in the process of creation. They love to create things. Adults are usually more focused on the outcome of their creations, not in the process of it. Isn't that true? These are, and that deprives the adults not only of enjoyment in the process, but also disconnects them from their hearts. So kids are always from their hearts. And so for ourselves, it's important to know these distinctions and not train our children to become like us. We need to begin like Jesus said. The other thing he said, see what great love the Father has lavished on us. It's here. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of heaven of God like a little child will never earn it. The kingdom of heaven, what is that? Was it something that I'm sure all of you have experienced one way or another? It is the presence of love, the presence of silence. Maybe we experienced it here when we were meditating. It is the light that shines within us. It is Sai. And again, another thing is, young children have not yet lost their enchantment with life. That's something that we need to remember. That, when we finish college or whenever we come out to it, life turns into waking up in the morning, I'm going to go do my job, and all I'm thinking about is the weekend that's going to come so I can do what I really like to do. Isn't that unfortunate? And we can do it even as Sai devotees. We just look forward, I can't wait till that event happens. That's unfortunate. Every moment is a Sai event. I experience it so much, when we come together every time, because we get so focused on him that as I leave it or as days go by, I see miracles. And then I wonder, is that just because they're happening then? They're happening every moment. And so beautiful that, Aparna, I think you asked people to see Swami as they were traveling here. And then everyone shared the different pictures of that. That's not just happening just because you asked them to. It's happening all the time. And for children, they see this all the time. Just we teach them that, that's all imagination. It's not. Please teach them and support that life is a magical journey. It's not a difficult one. Yes, it has ups and downs, you have responsibilities, but live each day for Swami. He'll help take care of you and teach them to have gratitude. I think that's one of the biggest things that we forget as devotees. We take this chance that we have. I remember Swami come into the canteen and spent time with us. Just three of us were in the canteen, my mother, myself, and one other devotee, and Swami. Beautiful, so beautiful when we're with him. It's so difficult to stand when Swami is there, but you have to, so Swami will ask, how do you serve the food, what do you give, how much do you charge, and all this kind of stuff. And after this magical time together, this lady who was there with us was so beautiful because she said, "Thank you, Swami, for coming and visiting us." She had that inner self to have that gratitude. It's so easy even to take it for granted that, my gosh, thousands of people are outside waiting to have darshan. Swami left the darshan place and came in just to be with 3 people here. There are gods, angels, waiting to have his darshan. And here we are, taking for granted, and it's so easy because you think he's just a person, and he's not. I mean, I'm hearing stories where the people who are the workers outside of here, I don't know if you've heard it, the workers here are putting the tiles down, see Swami walking and going and sitting on the chair here. And they first were afraid to be here by themselves because they don't know who he is. And then they're working on the floor, and Swami wanted to go in to bless the food that was being cooked. And Swami would walk and say, "Hey, move." And he would go in and bless the food. What grace. So here's this lady saying, "Thank you, Swami, for coming in." You know what Swami says? Swami gives many chances. Swami gives many chances. And remember this. This time that you're here right now is a chance Swami's giving you. This is all for you. Never forget that. I know doing service may feel like I'm helping someone. Don't think that way. It's okay to think that way, but truly, this is for you. This is to transform you. Your transformation. When Swami's come on this earth, you have this grace. And Swami's transforming us. And be grateful. And be loving. I guess I should, can I ask if people have questions? Please, anyone have questions, anything about what was spoken or anything else? Sorry.
So you shared the personal story where Swami said, "I'll bless you with a child who will be a devotee of God."
Yes.
But the reality was different.
Oh, thank you.
Did that give any sense of doubt on Swami, or how did you overcome that?
Yeah, that's the interesting. Thank you for asking that because I didn't kind of wrap that up. Yeah, that was the So here's the thing. My mother, she had a lot of sadness in her. And my mother in the interview asked Swami turned to her and says, "So much sadness in you." And she goes, "Swami, why?" And Swami said, "Expectation leads to disappointment. So one of the things about this was I was living with that expectation. Well, Swami says he's going to be a great devotee of God, so how do we translate it? Yeah, right now he's going to be what I think a great devotee of God is. And so when all this happened and he said that he's not, doesn't believe in God, it did cross my mind. How is it that Swami would say that? And again, it comes down to this one thing that happened between Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna looks up in the sky and says, "Oh, look at that dove in the sky." Oh, Arjuna says, "Yes, it's a dove." And then Krishna says, No, it's a peacock. I mean, a peacock and a dove, they don't look the same. And what did Arjuna say? He didn't say, "Oh, Krishna, that really is a dove." No, he said, "Yes, it's a peacock." And that's the thing here, is that I know that everything that Swami says is truth, but I don't know how that will unfold. I do say that yes, he's a great devotee of God, but he doesn't know it the way maybe I know it. I can recognize that, and I let him know, "I'm so proud of you because you serve people." He says what makes him happy is if he can smile at someone at the checkout stand or give some food to a homeless person, that makes him happy. That is a great devotee of God. It's not that he comes here or he sits and meditates. If that is going to come to him, it'll come at the right time. Okay, Sarah.
When Swami asked you to leave from here when you were in India and then go back, and then he said, start speaking. And then he also, as you said, do you have enough experience to that effect?
Yes.
And then kind of said, is that enough?
Yes.
So how were you able to reconcile what his message was, and then now, of course, you're sharing these beautiful stories with us and inspiring us. So how did that transition happen?
Sure. So what I've learned from Swami is I can come up here and speak about my experiences. And Swami actually says that. When you speak only what you've experienced, nothing more, nothing less. If you want to hear Swami's teachings, take it directly from him. You know how many videos there are and books and so on? But what's most important, it's not just the experiences. There's experiences happening all the time. I could just get up here and just straight up say what the experience is. But what Swami's taught me to do is to digest them and know and learn what they mean, the depth of them. And the depth of them, it's like, I don't drink, but it's like fine wine, right? The longer it's in the bottle, the better it gets. And everything, and please, my experiences are not mine. This all belongs to all of you. They just happen to be through this body that happened to have all that happen. I'm sure all of you can relate to all of this because it all happens to us. Our doubts, the difficulties, and the love that Swami shares. There's something that happens. But on another level, Swami also let me know that as Swami said to me, I will give you liberation, I will give you a peaceful life. I know he will give when it is the right time to give. And he's letting me know, the first person to tell you, there's an ego still here, there's a Leslie here, I make mistakes, there's all the time. And it's okay. But there is another place, another state, eventually to get to. That Swami says that's your destination. That's all of our destination. And just like the fruit on the tree ripens at different times, never forget. And here I'll just tell you one very important thing that Swami says. that all of us have to remember all the time. Swami has come and given you all tickets, all of you, all of us. The fact that we know him and he's pulled us to him. We've been with him many lifetimes. Many lifetimes. And now, it doesn't matter that he's not physically here with us. That's an all Maya kind of stuff. He's got a great game going. We don't know what's going to happen, but he's given us all a ticket on a train. And where is that train going? What's the destination? Back to him. We've separated myself from myself that I might love myself, and then to unite back to myself. And now you're on this train. It's going. And Swami says the train will have stops. And he says, you'll look out the window and say, ooh, what a nice place. That looks fun. And what will you do? You'll be tempted to get off the train and go take a look. Again, Swami, what does he say? What does that represent? Can anyone tell me getting off the train? What does that mean?
Distractions in life. Or
What's that?
Temptations.
Temptations. What kind of temptations are there?
desire.
Other Babas.
Concrete ones. Tell me, what do you
Other
think?
Babaji. Mataji.
Yeah, yeah. It's all that, it doesn't mean that Swami says we shouldn't enjoy life. Yeah, we can go off and what Swami says, what is sin? The only sin is when we forget him. That is sin. It's not that I eat good food. It's not that I go on a trip and visit Italy or however it is. You can go on a trip to visit Italy and see his beauty there. But it's when we just forget everything. Oh, I go and I drink a bunch and I forget everything, right? That's the thing. All these different, and then go off to other gurus, other people who will say, hey, I'll show you in a short amount of time, I'll give you liberation if you follow it. Don't get off this train, Swami says. He says, don't get off the train no matter what you do, however tempting it may be. This road is not easy. Being a Sai acquaintance, a Sai devotee, what we call, is not easy. Because what we signed up for is to give yourself to the Dobi. Lifetimes and lifetimes, we've gathered so much dirt and dust because of our tendencies. It's like how is a record made? A record first is what? Before they put the grooves on it. It's blank. That's how we started out, absolutely blank. Billions of years ago, you were blank, and then you were brought into this place, you were a rock. Then you were a tree. Then you were this. It is God experiencing all ways of being. And then because this is so cool, this is so neat, and the senses are, wow, I'm now a lizard and I can taste things, I can enjoy things, right? And then, oh, I'm now getting smarter, I'm a primate, right? And eventually, Swami says we become what? Human being. And Swami says, this is the greatest gift that you could ever have, to be born as a human being. And born on this earth. And he says that out of all the planets, in all the universes, there's only one place, this earth here, where you can realize who you truly are, and in these bodies. So, but the problem is that these bodies have all of these senses, and we got these brains that can think and we can imagine the universe, and there's scientists who are just constant, we're all doing all this stuff. That's all good and fine, as long as we don't forget him, to see him in it, to see his glory in it. So that's the thing about don't get off the train, is have the patience and don't give up this opportunity that we all have, and share it with people. Not necessarily through your words, You may turn people off if you say, hey, I know Sai Baba, he's God on earth and he has these teachings and everything. Some people will like this, you're crazy. I remember before I got this ring from Swami, I had a large diamond ring that he gave me. And I was like, what am I going to do when people ask about it? So I remember I was at a bank and I had my hand like this and I'm signing and the lady says, wow, what a beautiful ring. Where did you get it? And I said, a friend gave it to me. And I was telling the truth. Swami is my friend. Teach children that they're best friends because they love imagination too, but it's not imagination, it's real. Their best friend is Swami. And so, what did the banking lady say? She says, I'd love to meet your friend. And what did Swami have me say? He would love to meet you too. Swami's our best friend. He's the giver. He's the one who takes care of us all. So Jai Sai Ram, thank you so much for allowing me to share.